Brother, are you all right?
No, I am not all right. I just shared a bottle of Kanar with Damar. That rhymes.
You're drunk.
Of course I'm drunk.
No, you just missed it, and I just realized I had forgotten to unclick the desktop audio mute so those first few things you said didn't get out either. But now we're all good. See, this is what happens when stuff and things are going on and you're away from the computer for a while and then record something just in case and then forget, oh yeah, I need to change a few settings on OBS back. And yeah. Time to get back into the swing of things, huh? And oh boy. Oh. But I want to hurt someone because of this. Not severely, just enough to let them feel annoyed by it, because yes, we watched the third installment of the JJ verse Star Trek. And part of me remembered it as being as bad or worse than the second installment. It was marginally better than I remember.
It's the cheekiness of it all.
See, I don't know how much of it is that. As we were watching it, I think Leon and I were of the same mind at a few points where, okay, there were some terrible moments in that movie. I mean, just mind-numbingly, like, why the hell is that there? Why the hell are you... who the hell decided to write and do that? But there are elements to the movie and the story that actually were bearable. That actually were kind of good. It was unsettling. I think that's the best way I can describe it is I'm starting to question reality now because of it.
Well, the one thing I think that threw you off and made you unsettled, not as much lens flare as you were expecting. Don't get me wrong, there was still some in there, but it just wasn't as frequent as we're used to.
I must say, I think it would have been a way better movie if it, one, didn't have the legacy of the other two movies, and two, wasn't a Star Trek movie.
This is ideally, I think this would have been a better middle ground movie between Enterprise and Discovery, or Enterprise and TOS if they were to have done it without any of the other Star Trek franchises involved. Made it its own standalone, this is an independent Star Trek movie. Kind of like the Solo or Rogue One.
Yeah, that would have made it hard to actually bring it in with the Discovery, or the Enterprise stuff, though.
Well, no, you could still keep the premise that it was a, early Federation ship that was commanded by a former Mako officer. But that ties it into the Enterprise era.
No, it doesn't. For the simple reason that the NX-01 could go at warp 5.
Yeah, they kind of screwed up the timeline there of when the NX-01 was available and when the Franklin was launched.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was... What was it they said? The first warp 4 capable ship?
Yeah, whereas if you look at Enterprise, they went from warp 2 to the Warp 5 engine. They didn't do a standalone Warp 4 or even have a variant.
Well, like I said, it's one of those that had they taken it out of the JJ verse, they could have put it in there and they could have tweaked the timeline and gotten it right.
Well, it wasn't even so much that stuff that bothered me, but let's actually try to start on a positive note where the way they began the movie, showing the monotony of being a little over halfway, close to 2/3 of the way through a deployment. Oh, they must have had some a couple of military advisors on there who have been on long deployments, because that energy from Kirk of the fuck was so spot on that it really harkened back to the time of being in the middle of the ocean, not sure when you're actually going to be able to step on dry land again, but you can just know, fuck this shit, it's getting boring.
It's when you start. That's the point in the underway where you start looking at everyday objects and wondering how you can make a practical joke out of it, like collecting as many 3-hole punches, putting them into a box, and so when the lid opens up, everything comes spraying out, and you hand it to the XO. Not saying that it's done from experience on my end, but
or
stuff and things.
Or like when you take the hinges off of the XO's door and then put the door in the freezer.
Oh, that's child's play to what we did with the door. Come on now.
Oh, I'm just going off.
We have standards here.
I'm just going off of stories that other submariners have told that are on record and can't deny it. Yes, I'm looking at you, Jive Turkey. You, Mr. Amick. You have admitted to taking off the XO's door and freezing it for the midway night. Oh.
Considering everything here, though, and considering, Navy, well, Link.
Oh, God. Do I?
Yeah, I'm gonna... Okay, you know what? It's true, though.
Yeah, is it true in a good way?
It's pretty accurate for the military.
I was gonna say, go ahead and bring it up because my answer is relevant so the people can understand it. It depends on who you are in this picture. Are you the person that's about to use the object, or are you in place of the object?
Or are you the one filming?
That too. That too. So, it really depends on your point of view. Quite literally. Oh, but... that whole thing... And that's what... I will give Simon Pegg a little pat on the back for his part of the writing, because out of these 3 installments of Star Trek, the actual storyline and a lot of what happened in this movie was the closest to classic Trek that you'll find. So
surprisingly enough.
He is admitted to being a Star Trek fan for a large part of his life, similar to Seth MacFarlane. Now look at what we're getting from the Orville. We're getting the spiritual successor to Star Trek. It's keeping the foundations of what Gene Roddenberry has stated the show was about alive, while tweaking things here and there to make it more palatable and actually making it work in the current media landscape, at least for McFarlane. Simon Pegg, I think there were people who came in after like, oh no, we can't do that. Oh no, we can't do that. Oh no, we need to tweak this. And his core work in writing the script was very apt and true to form for what Star Trek is supposed to be. But then you have those other people coming in and chiming in, oh, little tweak here, oh, little tweak there, oh, no, we need to do this. Oh, hey, wouldn't this look pretty freaking cool? Yeah, let's have Kirk riding around on a pseudo ADV dirt bike, spewing some chemical shit out the back, and jumping around like he's doing motocross.
Somebody's here to get in trouble, I think, Jared. Look in the live chat.
For someone who said he wasn't available due to other obligations, kind of funny that you'd have the balls to post in the chat.
He has at least one of them.
No. Those balls are elsewhere. And there are a couple people who seem to keep passing them back and forth, which I find oddly hilarious. It'll just make next week more fun.
Sure, likely story.
Right. Wasn't there something mentioned about an anniversary? And you're doing barbecue? But in the meantime, what parts did you guys actually find passable or any other measure worthy of acknowledgement? I'm not going to say praise, but acknowledgement.
Oh, you're in trouble now.
No, it's an automated thing coming up.
I would go with, again, back to the sheer cheekiness of most of the dialogue, especially between McCoy and Spock. You get more of that classic banter that we were used to between DeForest Kelley and Leonard Nimoy. They finally steered away from trying to force the feeling there to letting it be more organic. And then gotta love the music scenes with Scotty just saying that it's all noise.
Classical music is what the Beastie Boys are considered then. Which, when you think about how long it's been, it does kind of fit.
Yes. Nice choice.
Well, no. Like, I understand why they went with the Beastie Boys, but they could have opened it up more because... Yes, you're hearkening back to one of the establishing scenes in the first movie where Kirk stole his stepfather's car and started blasting the Beastie Boys as he destroyed the ragtop.
There's a few other songs I could have selected for that scene had they had the rights to it.
I think that's a part of it. It is actually a major part of it. What did they have the rights to? And
because I could totally see for that scene flying through the cell ships, basically. Crazy Train would have been great, especially the lead up music to it.
Yeah. That could have worked.
I don't know. It actually felt kind of nice that they had something that was at least somewhat alien as a concept, with the way that they actually had a hive fleet instead of having, well, fighters or whatever the fuck else. And sure, it turned into a plot point, but it was nice having something that's a bit more
foreign.
Yeah, unconventional. Something that you don't really expect otherwise. And something that, well, the Enterprise was not at all prepared for. Even though I would say using the photon torpedoes as flak weapons would have worked, but that's just me. What do I know?
Well, they were trying with even with the phasers. They were trying in that initial battle, and with the way that the swarm was actually gathered and flying through and everything, they're just like, oh, warhead. Okay, we'll just go around that. So you're essentially dealing with Matrix level type of evasion tactics then.
Oh, so when are we covering that, by the way?
Later.
Maybe next week.
Can I vote, like, wait till the movie comes out?
I did say maybe. It was non-committal. But the earliest we would actually talk about it in any depth is next week. Because, hey, non-Trek topic.
Yeah.
Do we, in that case, want to talk about what actually happens in the movie? Or all the bullshit that's been going on afterwards with people trying to retroactively, that's the word, retroactively add shit to the movie and the meaning of the movie without it making any sense.
It's about trans issues, really?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the Wachowski brothers, but, well, whatever they are now.
Yeah, I get it, and I get that they post-talk said that, oh yeah, it was definitely about this. But, no. I got no read of that whatsoever from the movie. Now, they might have had Easter eggs in there for it, which, hey, guess what? You can pretty much say that about anything at any point because it's just an Easter egg and not an actual plot point or anything substantial to the movie. So you trying to put it as some sort of additional upfront topic and story point and morality facet of the movie would just be, oh, what's that they hate calling things? Oh, yeah, revisionist history, you fuck.
Yeah, I do like The Matrix. Rather, I like the first movie. It started going a bit in the second movie, and the third movie felt more like, oh shit, we have to make a third movie. Let's just throw the rest of it in there.
Yeah, you can see that. Much like with the JJ verse, kind of trying to bring it back full circle now that I've derailed us. You could tell in the Matrix movies that there was a solid storyline going from the first to the second, and the second started to slump off, and then the third could just kind of, let's finish this off the best way we can at this point.
I would actually compare it to, the Hobbit trilogy. You got a good base story, you got a good framework you're going from and you're starting from, but you're spreading it too thin. Or actually, the prequel trilogy for Star Wars. You have way more movie than you do actual story for the first two installments in that one. And then you have 90% of your actual story in movie number 3.
Oh, don't get me started on that. I actually watched Star Wars culture on 20 Things You Didn't Know About Attack of the Clones.
Here's the thing. Lucas at least admitted to that the bulk of his actual story for the prequel ended up in movie 3. And when you're trying to work on either side of that situation, either with not enough story, not enough core story, or too much core story, you did piss poor planning. Just outright, you did not plan things well. And you know what, the JJ verse is guilty of that too, because when you look at the first one, they actually had a complete story arc in that first movie. It was overly contrived and really bastardized, but it was a full story arc. It seems like 2 and 3 really could have been one movie. Into Darkness and Beyond, they really could have honed things in and actually made a better story by combining certain elements of both, instead of trying to make 2 completely separate movies, especially because of the laziness in 2 of them essentially just rewriting The Wrath of Khan and Space Seed in 1.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
You know what? I think that's why Beyond did not seem as painful or bad to watch again. Because Into Darkness was just so bad, and we had only watched it a few weeks before, so there was still that lingering pain and discomfort from that watching Beyond really wasn't that bad by comparison. Not great, but not as bad as the previous one.
I'd actually say that Beyond is better than the first one. Simply due to the way that in the first one they tried to shoehorn everything in, make this work with an already established concept. Whereas in Beyond, they'd already established characters by then. And at that point, they were so far along that they could just, run with it. They could just use it all, since it was already something where the characters knew one another. Even if you hadn't watched the first 2, you'd still understand where the characters were in the third one.
Yeah, I think you hit on something right there. The fact that the actual story, the actual progression that we were going to get in Beyond was original. It wasn't a rehash of anything. And the fact that it was that fresh take, even with established characters, I think that's worked in their favor, which is always a good thing, is progressing the tale, progressing the overall story and universe that you've put these characters into. Whereas, yeah, they epically failed on that one in the previous. And I do agree with Cowardly the Dog on the initial bit. The 09 was a decent reboot to get people interested and re-spark that flame of interest for Star Trek. And the fact that they admitted it wasn't going to be in the same timeline or universe as what we've gotten to that point, I always give them credit for that, because it gave them a lot of latitude and gave them the ability to change things without completely ostracizing a large chunk of the fan base.
I will take one issue with what Cowardly the Dog said. And First Contact was not awful, even compared to the TOS films.
That's what
was it great by the standards? No. But it is definitely not awful.
First Contact is still a top 3 Star Trek movie, in my opinion. But to say that the rest of them, yeah, Generations was on par with Star Trek V.
Are we sure Kirk didn't write that one?
I mean, Kirk showed up in it, so you never know what Bill had done in the background with it. Nemesis, yeah,
We'll talk about that one later.
They should have ended it at Insurrection. And it actually seems like they were initially planning to, or at least the entire group that was the TNG cast was going to separate after that. Whether or not Picard retired and Riker and Troy took over, or how they were going to work it for anything going forward. But Insurrection was set up to end the TNG series of material wonderfully. You set off a sunset departure for Picard to finally settle down with someone. Troy and Riker finally got their heads out of their asses and are officially together and good. And you have the tying up of stories that were in the periphery for the entire time. But then they made Nemesis.
We just needed some more money. And something more to spread the message in the franchise.
Yeah, you know, the road to hell is paved with the best of intentions. And now he's doing it again with a series. But
I still think my theory at the very beginning of the chat pans out as the best idea that they'll have for Star Trek going forward. Shall I read it for everybody?
you know what? Go for it. Since it did not pick up on the on-screen portion of the chat, not sure if it'll pop up in the replay afterwards, but go for it.
So, response to the title is: Have we reached? What was it? The title? Have we reached the end of it? Or please let this be the end? Yeah. My answer is no. We will have a new one soon. I hear they are recasting Chekhov and bringing him over from the Prime Universe via red matter transporters.
A week, not Chekhov's.
And they'll make and just to be PC about it and everything, Chekhov will be a non-gender conforming, non-binary person.
Oh, because you know the Russians did it first. Oh,
I know something the Russians did to those people.
yeah. From Cowardly the Dog, Generations killing off Kirk that badly after Star Trek VI, a film that wrapped up the TOS films, is a crime. Nemesis being a shoddy remake of Wrath of Khan is an understatement. Oh, no. Nemesis wasn't the remake of Wrath of Khan. Star Trek Into Darkness was. Damn near verbatim a rewrite of Wrath of Khan. Nemesis was... Nemesis was a punt. It was a punt from your own 45 on a makeable fourth down.
Fourth and inches.
Yes. And the fact that they screwed up a safe play like that.
That actually had so much potential for a movie too. Even if it is a remake of Wrath of Khan, they could have done it so much better.
But if you want to go with that comparison, try to compare it that way, why not say that First Contact was a rewrite of Wrath of Khan with the return of the Borg?
Or why not throw just some time travel shenanigans into it, where they can actually meet the first people being, well, enhanced like that, and actually see from the beginning, why is this really a bad thing? As far as I know, that isn't actually something that's been, well, explored in the movies or series yet. We've seen the aftermath of it. We've seen that people don't really want it. But we haven't seen anything from that era of the eugenics wars.
Having an entire series around the eugenics wars would actually be kind of nice.
Yeah, that is, as I said, there are so many little pockets, little bits of established in-universe history that the showrunners and creative teams could have picked to go with for any of these installments of Trek. And none of them have had the balls to do it. Because let's look at it this way. We have Discovery swing and miss at the 4 Years' War. We have reference that they were getting ready to go into the Earth-Romulan War in Enterprise before they cut it off at its knees. You have the eugenics wars that you could go into, which are even referenced again in Enterprise with the Children of Soon. So many things that they could have gone into that would have given them the opportunity to be more creative and flexible while still sticking in universe and not having to worry about totally messing up already established things. And yet, well, no one wants to watch that. They want to watch these characters. Fuck you. Give me a good story in a good setting, and that's what we want. We want something set in the Star Trek universe that is a good story that actually is a piece of the puzzle, not a random piece from another puzzle.
And actually doing it in a proper way, such as, let's say, the Clone Wars, where they do go into the specifics, the general stuff happening there, everything going on, just to give you a broad view of what's going on without being too much. Because if you look at, say, Star Wars, the prequel trilogy, there was supposed to be a lot more politics and shit in that, actually explaining what's going on. They didn't get around to doing it. And it's something where if you watch the movies now, you don't get the full scope of what's actually going on. You have to watch the series. You have to watch some episode of Rebels, and you have to watch the entirety of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, just to understand how things got to where they were now. How all these people were maneuvered into place. How all these things were fabricated, pretty much. They didn't really happen naturally. They had people behind them, pushing a bit here, pulling a bit here, a bribe here, a threat there, to get to where the Clone Wars was a reality to begin with, and then ending the Clone Wars once both sides had exhausted the resources.
Yeah.
Something like that for Star Trek.
You know, I think the problem with that is, this is the only negative that I could see coming from that, had they been able to do that. Or if they were to try to do that with Star Trek at this point. There's already a franchise out there that is actually built upon that. And your more varied and knowledgeable sci-fi fans already know that franchise from their books. And this is where this franchise, every time they've tried to put it to film, has failed in one way or another because it is so clandestine and political and maneuvering based in the bulk of its stories and the bulk of what's actually going on. Dune. There's a reason why Frank Herbert's books, a lot of people don't actually finish them when they start, especially in this franchise, because there is that slow build-up. There is that slow progression and slow burn because it is setting up all the maneuvering, all the games that people are setting up, all the plans within plans that people on different sides, different parts of the universe are putting together and putting into motion. But then once these plans start getting either messed up or paying off, that's when the action takes over and takes place. Which, to be able to do that in a coherent way that a lot of readers, you don't see where things are going entirely from the outset, is the mark of a phenomenal writer. And that's part of why I fell in love with Herbert's writings, because it made you want more. Because, yeah, you are rewarded for getting through that setup bit with the payoffs and how things actually happened. So, yeah, it it's kind of a chore to get through the first 5, 6, 7 chapters of one of his books. But the last 5 to 10 chapters, they go too quick, and you want more. Why can't we have that sort of writing from the Trek universe now? Oh, I know why. Because most of the writers dealing with this shit are lazy as fuck and don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah. That's something where. Let's take another example here. Let's take Blade Runner or Blade Runner 2049, simply because we watched it this week. It's a movie that's got an amazing lack of action in it. There is action, but the action that's in it is not gratuitous. It's not something we have action just for action's sake. And it's not something where everyone is equal in terms of how do you actually perform against one another. You have the replicants, which is Kay and the secretary lady, I can't remember her name. And you have one of the old Nexus 8 models that Kay encounters. Kay being a Nexus 9 model. Kay essentially just straight up fucking floors the other guy. A guy that's twice his size. He just does not care. The other guy hasn't got a fucking chance against him. You then see Kay taking out some other people. Love. Oh, that's a name. You then see Kay taking out some other people, as in regular humans. And one of them, he just lifts him up in the air and breaks his fucking spine against his knee. So, yeah, against humans, he's slightly overpowered. You see the secretary there, Love. Well, not to spoil too much of it, but one of the police chiefs there is essentially trying to hit her with the glass. Love grabs her hand, crushes the glass in her hand, and just closes the police chief's hands around the glass. The police chief does not have a single fucking chance at all. Well, that's before she gets disemboweled. But Love is strong enough to also just crack someone's neck by slapping them. It's something where you can see these two characters being somewhat on the same level. Later in the movie, Kay also meets, Deckard, and just lets Deckard hit him again and again and again, taking pretty much no damage from it. It isn't until later where Kay gets a piece of rebar just stuck through his side, where he shows taking some serious damage from it. When Kay and Love meet one another, and they do have a fight, they are pretty much equal. They're both replicants, they're both on about the same level. But up until then, no one of them, or neither of them, has actually met someone who's been their equal in the field. And the rest of the movie is essentially just a detective story. It's trying to find out what the fuck happened. It's trying to get in touch with what happened in the first movie, what happened after the first movie. And if they could do something like that, or to that degree, with Star Trek, yeah, I'm fine with it. Instead of, oh yes, I'm a fencer, so therefore I'm going to try to cut everyone up.
Gotta love that advanced combat training.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Nah.
Yeah, yes, he admits to being trained in fencing. Pulls out essentially a hybrid uh, ninjutsu and katana.
Oh, come on now. You can fence with one of those.
Uh, not effectively.
I didn't say it was. I didn't say it was going to be as good. I'm just saying you can.
Yeah. Yes, we're gonna set up one thing in this scene, and then we're going to give them something else because, hey, rule of cool, that looks better than fencing.
So, going back to Beyond, what were you guys' thoughts on the premise of the energy taking alien form that the Franklin CO took on?
Kind of reminded me of the Wraith from Stargate Atlantis.
No.
Not visually, but what
The premise.
The premise, yeah. They're basically an evolved parasite, and what makes sense to me is it's an interesting weapon or MacGuffin to use in that, because you're taking the life's essence. You're taking someone's actual energy that keeps their body going, removing it from them and incorporating it into yourself. So you do that from different species. I could see it disfiguring the user to that extent. I guess that depends on who you take the life force and that energy from in the first place.
I kind of felt more contrived to me, though.
Oh, it was definitely an OP fucking weak explanation for the situation and how they had everything set up.
Yeah.
It was a good premise, failed in execution.
I would have preferred it if it was something along the lines of the I can't ever fucking remember the name of them. In Star Trek Voyager, the people who are essentially taking organs from all
The
other
Vidians.
species.
The Vidian.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I could see that more being one of those things. After you get the virus, your body starts decaying. It starts just shutting down. In order to stay alive, you need to take body parts from others, which in this case might have to be another species. So you have more a case of the reason for this actually being a thing is that they need to stay alive. Their body is decaying. And so they take on the appearance of something else because they quite literally stole someone else's face.
But then you don't have that cool reversion when Krull decides to put on a Starfleet uniform and then go attack the Yorktown station, which... Who the hell decided to put a snowflake on the border of uncharted territory with a fuck ton of UFP citizens on it?
I mean, you could just have him steal someone else's face.
Well, who was the admiral that died in the last one?
I don't know.
No,
Harris?
No.
Yeah.
John Harrison was the pseudonym, was the replacement name for Khan.
The one that Khan
It was
killed by his
Marcus.
hand. Yeah, Marcus. It was probably him. It sounds like something he would do.
Well, how about this? You know what? I am going to give the JJ verse credit for this one detail that they have stuck with. The incompetency of the Starfleet Admiralty.
Yeah, they're special. They are all manners of fucking special.
But you know what? It's right in line with U.S. naval tradition. At certain points, be it enlisted or officer side, you'll have someone who actually knows what the fuck they're doing and are actually a great leader, and then one promotion happens, be it to 06 or to the 07 and above level, their brains are gone. Like there's some, for some reason, there's a large number of officers that as soon as that one promotion to that serious level of responsibility happens, all of that clout and goodwill and history that they've built up over their career to that point doesn't mean shit anymore.
Yeah. Especially when you have a Commodore with the last name Paris.
Well, can you really fault him?
No.
Now, does that explain why Paris, when he went to the academy, used the name Locarno?
Well, granted, this being a different timeline, but I would assume yes. I'm still trying to figure out how Kirk's stepdad got to be the commander of the defense force for the station.
Was that the same guy?
I believe it is. I'm just double checking really quick here. The joys of having IMDb at your fingertips. Yes, he is listed specifically as stepdad.
It really tells you how interesting those movies are when that's just been one of those points I've my eyes glazed over at.
Well, yeah, but then look at the original TOS series of runs. Yeoman Rand appears in just about... No, she is. She's in every TOS movie. And you actually, by watching the background, you can see her career progression. Because she was an enlisted yeoman in the series. And then she got her commission. And you see her working the transporter in the motion picture. She's off the Enterprise from then on. But you see her at Earth Space Dock in Wrath of Khan and...
Search for Spock.
And Spock. You see her in the chambers for the trial at the end of Star Trek 4.
Hold on. I'm gonna see if they listed as her as credits for her. Yep, Commander Rand. Okay, so
I forget when we see her in 5.
oh, she is 5. She is Oh, she's not in 5 according to this.
5 might be the only one she's not in, but I know she's in 6 because now she's a bridge officer on the Excelsior.
Yes, because she's
communications for Sulu.
Yep, and then flashback in Voyager, she is Commander Janice Rand. Her character is actually given her proper name in that point. She is not listed in Wrath of Khan at all, actually, the movie. Although I do believe you do see her just as an extra there.
Yeah.
She is listed as Woman in Cafeteria and Search for Spock. Then Voyage Home, she's listed as Janice Rand. Then not in Final Frontier. And then in Undiscovered Country. I forgot that she passed away in 2015.
Yeah. With the way they've handled the franchise in its establishment and then its relaunch with the TOS movies, you get that level of investment in a character who's even just a background character like her. Other than sheer comedic value, do we do any of that for any of the characters in the reboot?
Especially since she's only in 9 episodes of the original series. Her entire run is the first season.
I thought she was in a few more than that, but yeah, she wasn't in many. But when she was in them, she made an impact.
She was in the cage as the Illusion Princess, and then after that, she was Yeoman Rand in The Man Trap, Charlie X, Naked Time, Enemy Within, Miri, Corbomite Maneuver, The Conscience of the King, and Balance of Terror.
Huh.
That was her actual run on TOS the show.
Yeah,
And I
so
don't think she was listed in.
little bit of season 1, little bit of season 2.
And no animated series for her, unfortunately. Well, that could be a good thing.
Hey, if we can get it to work, we will be watching the animated series on the server when the time comes. It's just
when the
Yes.
time comes.
yeah. At this point, the Thursdays are pretty well booked for. We figured it out. What, about a year and a half now?
More than that. I think a year and a half was when we were actually starting Enterprise.
Because we're not quite halfway through DS9. Then we got Voyager. Then we have... Yeah, then it's down to the animated series and Enterprise.
So speaking of Davros in the chat, I've been catching up on Doctor Who on HBO Max, the new Who, as it is called. And I actually stopped at the store yesterday, set my phone up because I've just been kind of listening to the David Tennant ones because I've already seen them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the episode 1 of season 4 where him and Donna are both at Adipose Industries, and they finally see each other. The car sitting next to me are apparently avid Who fans because their entire back of their SUV is made to look like a TARDIS. And the wife is sitting in the passenger seat, looks over, sees what I'm watching, then looks over, and when I look over to see her, she starts doing the Donna part of the scene. I'm like, okay, I gotta play along. No, anamorphic
Nice.
mind, you must suffer.
Just as the suffering goes both ways, we're all taking turns at being Miles.
We are the whipping post of the universe.
If you really do not want to watch that season, we can actually skip it. We'll just have this planted with 2 seasons for Picard.
You gotta throw in at least the first season of Discovery in there too for them.
I think Picard's going to be enough.
Yeah, but we
First
really
season
got to do a
twice.
mind fuck on them, though. We really got to do that mind fuck on them.
How bad is it that they are already auctioning off pieces of the set and costumes from Discovery?
Well, they got to redesign everything now that they're. I don't even know where they're at. I still haven't watched season 3 yet.
It wasn't even just that. Is they, even with all the changes that the prior series of Star Trek have done, they haven't done any of those sorts of sales and auctions
Until well after the show is over.
because they know, okay, yeah, we're not going to be using this again.
Because usually it's like, oh, we can flash back. Like, for example, recreating the holodeck of the NCC-1701. No bloody A, no bloody B, no bloody C, or D. Because you never know when something's going to look back where you want to tie in that piece of nostalgia. And I don't know how you're going to be nostalgic about Discovery other than, yay, it's gone.
So far, I would have to agree that's going to be the most part. Now, there are people out there who do claim to enjoy the show, but I still haven't gotten a good explanation or cogent reason why.
Wait, could you say that again? There are people who what?
There are people who claim to have actually enjoyed Discovery.
Bullshit.
I'll have you talk to...
Bullshit.
Oh, what's his name on Discord? It's Is he using the ugly German truth's name on Discord server?
Yes.
Yeah, Fino.
Look,
Talk to him.
Yeah, no, I don't trust those opinions.
this is what I'll tell him.
Oh, save me, Jeevan!
Yeah. No. It's Mikey Spock. That is the savior. She is the cause and solution for
I'll be right back.
everything.
Can't we have a Star Trek series about something that isn't the Federation?
That's what they're trying to do with Prodigy, technically. But even then, you still have the heavy Federation influence.
But I would like a series just showing why in the fuck Klingons got to where they are in the modern Star Trek franchises.
Oh, here's an idea. If it were possible, and you wanted to bring back a couple characters and a couple actors from a prior edition of Star Trek to do a show about, don't pick a Federation officer. Don't pick any of those mainstays. Either Quark and Odo, or Quark and Garrick. Or just Garrick. Just plain, simple Garrick.
I feel like Odo might be a bit of an issue right now. On account of him being slightly unalive.
He is a shapeshifter.
Yeah. I don't know. I would like something like, what's his face? The judge that's in Enterprise. The Klingon judge. Or not judge. Klingon attorney? Lawyer? Barrister?
Oh, I forget his name, but yeah, he's essentially a lawyer. I won?
Yeah, that guy. I would like a series about him going from where he was to begin with and actually having hope to then later in life just giving the fuck up. He can't do anything. He doesn't feel like he has any power in it because everyone's just going full warrior class on him. And then him meeting Archer and then trying to actually reform Klingon culture again. I would like something like that. Just something, a simple premise for something that will actually show the lasting repercussions for the Klingon Empire. Show how it came to be that people like the Duras family the Duras house could do so much fucked up shit and still get away with it.
Yeah.
Well, they're warriors, so they get away with everything. Remember?
Well, and that's the question: is what actually happened to push for that change? Because there were, as in Enterprise and even a few other times, there were references that the Klingon culture was much more comparable to the Federation before the warrior class took over the entire show. So it would be interesting to get into that aspect of the lore. And then
it would be something new.
It would be new. It would be a different view of the Klingon people and culture that would give you an opportunity to really flex those creative muscles. But here's what I see being a problem and why that we wouldn't be able to get a show like that right now. How are you going to fit in the political message?
With a sledgehammer.
No. How are you going to fit in identity politics into that show?
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah, see, that's exactly why we're not going to get it, because they can't manipulate it as easily.
The identity is being a Klingon. That's enough. You don't need more. You don't need anything more.
Well, since the Klingons officially in canon have never been quote unquote slaves and haven't overthrown their oppressors, you can't fit the identity politics in there.
But they did kill their gods.
Yeah, well, you know, somebody's got to take Zeus off his pedestal once in a while. So I'm betting 1,000 this month for DoorDash, by the way, Jared.
They're finally learning.
They've actually got people who understand how to read.
Well, I don't understand how DoorDash works as on a driver's side. Like, can you do you pick and choose which orders you go and get?
You can. You can opt to not pick up one when it comes up in your area. If you do that too much, then they start realizing you're being very picky, and then they just send you all the shit ones. I just take whatever they send me. I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Well,
You know, $3 tip here, $4 tip here. You know, it all adds up in the end.
well, the reason why I ask is because I wonder how much of it has been like, man, that guy's an asshole. I don't want to deliver for him.
Nah. Hey, RNGD Gaming. So I went to our local sub sandwich slash Italian shop. And why am I trying to present the screen when I want to turn on my camera? Habit.
Reasons.
And the question is, what did you find this time, Leon?
I'm not gonna share that. I'll share my hot link here, or my Italian sausage.
Interesting.
Italian sausage, marinara, mozzarella, and grilled onions. Really nice. Now, what did he?
I don't know. I have not looked at it, and I'm not sure if I want to.
Is this Terrace's other Twitter account?
I'm not sure, but maybe.
It looks like it would be her other account, doesn't it?
Because I feel like the message at least is
Here,
something you'd hear from there.
Yeah.
you're making me have to look.
Trust me, you're gonna like it.
Okay, yeah.
Do you want me to share that with everybody? Even though they got a flash of it on your screen?
No, they didn't. Well,
Yeah, they did. I watched it on the live stream.
Okay.
Live stream.
you know what? No. Let's post that shit in the server somewhere.
Let's all just pick a random spot and we post it in different spots on the server just to fuck with people.
Oh, what the fuck?
Oh, I didn't even see the comment.
And
Whoa.
oh, okay. Hang on. Let's see if he's still out there.
Who of them?
Anamorphic Mind.
Ah.
Because I just took a look in the server at something that he posted. And
What did he post and where?
basic chat. Apparently, JM Truth is giving out money advice.
Oh no. Hold on. Hold on. I gotta share this for you though.
I'm wondering if we do a video breakdown of that on VTW.
Oh, we will. Just for this simple reason. Title of the thing.
That's not
Standard
how.
dis-
That's not how a disclaimer works.
Do we want to subject our audience though to 11 minutes, almost 12 minutes of
Oh, it's only 11 minutes. Oh, okay. I was my next
11:49?
my next question was going to be, okay, how long does it go on?
I would say, though, keep it in the offline segment. Copyright.
Fair use.
Oh, Jared,
They
the
don't
lighting
really
is
seem to
horrible.
care too much about that.
I'm just scrolling through.
Oh, Josh. Were you not able to get Negex to hold the lighting for you?
What the fuck is he filming this with? Like half of this looks like a crappy colored animation over the top of the video. Like a bad Never mind. I'm gonna stay away from that. I'm gonna stay away from it. Because it is definitely not.
That's also called After Effects.
I don't know. I'm not sure I want to know.
And yeah, Laura, yeah.
Did I ruin her day?
Nope. She asked a question about certain associations. And yes. Wow. Wow. The night, I don't know whether or not to say the night got better or worse now. I'm really not sure.
It's there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just there.
You're both a winner and a loser when. Do we want to bring up the other thing from the server, though?
Which would that be?
The debate thing.
Go for it.
What debate thing?
Oh, I asked a simple question. What is your definition of an assault weapon and why?
Oh god.
Yeah. After which there were a lot of answers, but pretty much fucking no one actually answered my question. I mean, okay, sure, it might be something we don't quite understand it, but at the same time, it's a very specific question. It's what's an assault weapon? Or what is your definition of an assault weapon and why?
Can I assault somebody with it? That's
Yeah,
my
but that's the thing. Can I assault someone with it? I can assault someone with a bag of peanuts. That would in that case
an
be a
assault
high
weapon.
capacity assault weapon.
Hey. Are those peanuts roasted and salted, though?
Oh, then it's double assault and battery.
No, but that's something where assault weapon is such a fucking nebulous term.
It is.
And that's why I want to know how people would define it.
To be honest, there is no definition for an assault weapon because an assault weapon doesn't actually exist. In the sense of how in the sense of how the mainstream media and others try to portray it. However, if you want to have a definition, an assault weapon would be any weapon that you can actually assault somebody else with. So that literally means my big pen that I use at work is a fucking assault weapon. So you better take it away from me. The pencil that I use, whether it's mechanical or not, that's an assault weapon. My fucking chapstick could be an assault weapon because somebody could be allergic to the wax.
Well,
I could also cut you up with the tube, I guess.
This has come up before. If you define something in such a way that everything fits that definition, you've made a category error. And we know a group of shit stains that love to do that anyways. And
why do you gotta talk about the Young Turks like that, man?
Oh, they're just one part of it. They're just one subset of the fuckery that's out there.
It's just something where it's an easy question. Oh, it's two easy questions rather. But even from that, you have so many people chiming in with shit that most of the time isn't even related to it. And then you can see someone using that term somewhere else, and people just making the connections to things that aren't even mentioned.
Well, they're putting their own view and bias into it at that point, if that's what they're doing, which is the wrong thing to do if you're trying to have a productive conversation with someone.
Yeah, because at this point, anything is an assault weapon. Anything. So either they have to ban everything, or you're going to have to actually define what the fucking assault weapon is.
And generally, what was it? Donkey comes up with the term. The general term military weapon is used for guns is not helpful either. And where you said, Leon, that military can be used in helpful definition depending on how something is used, like a rifle. Because there are certain things that military rifles need to be able to do that not necessarily that a civilian rifle should have to or should be capable of doing.
Oh, like
Or rather,
select
it
fire?
should not have. Second?
Oh, like select fire?
Yeah, but something, it should not be a requirement for that rifle.
No, it shouldn't.
And that's something where if I want a semi-automatic rifle, say I want a Ruger 1022, I can get that in semi-auto. But what is there to keep me from getting it in full auto or auto as well?
You mean aside from the country you live in and the local legislation?
Yeah, but what is there? What is the reason for me not being able to have that?
Oh, they're punishing you because of the fuck up and no. They are equitably applying the criteria to everyone because of the ill actions of another.
Which those ill actions aren't really being taken with the kind of, well, say, firearm that I'm using.
But it could. And we have to protect people from the possibility of what could happen.
And someone could take a car and just mow down a lot of people. But with that being said, you don't have, well, regular checkups. Can you still drive? You don't have checkups. Yeah. But you do not have the same kind of criterion for, okay, you're supposed to work in a restaurant where you often have people coming in who are allergic to peanuts. Do you eat fucking peanuts? No, don't check that. Do you check every few years that, okay, you're actually allowed to still have a car, or you're still allowed to use a car? No, you don't. Do you check so people are still allowed to use bikes? With many people actually using just bicycles, do you check that they are fucking capable of following the rules of or laws of the road? No, you don't. With all these things, there's no stigma. It's not something where people are so worried about cars just crashing into a crowd of people. It's not something where people are worried about getting run over with a fucking bicycle. That's not an issue. People aren't worried about getting a peanut in the fucking in their food, unless they happen to be allergic to peanuts. But that's another story. But for some fucking reason, with guns, we have to regulate the fuck out of it. Because people who use guns taken in illegally into a country are doing shit illegally due to them being criminals that I wouldn't fucking do if I were to have the same gun and actually own it legally. There's a bit of a weird issue going on here, which is something where, okay, what's the best reason for me not having a fully automatic rifle or a fully automatic handgun at all?
I honestly can't come up with a good argument to justify why a restriction on that particular thing could be done. But then, again, I'm of the mindset that about the only things that should be relegated to the point of extreme limited access are going to be things like nuclear and chemical warheads.
Come on, Jerry. But I want to have a cruise missile that can, wipe out people with, I don't know, Ebola.
But at that point, it's something where I can actually see more of a reason for it, because it's a safety risk to yourself as well and others. It's something where you, through even inaction, can cause issues.
Yeah, you make a simple idiotic mistake cleaning a firearm, you're hurting yourself. You do that with a nuclear warhead, it's yourself, it's your neighbor, it's your city, it's...
No, because at that point, it's something where if I take my gun and I put it on a table, fully loaded, cocktail loaded, everything like that, it won't do shit. Or at least not now anymore. It won't do shit. If I have something like, say, a nuclear warhead, and it's not maintained properly, and you start having leakage of the nuclear material, or radioactive material, or you have something where there's issues in the fire mechanisms, or say something like you have a chemical warhead that starts leaking, anything like that, all of a sudden it's more of an issue about, can this be trusted, rather than,
are you going to set it off?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where, like, you get to that level where just simple poor maintenance can cause harm to other people unintentionally. Yeah, control the shit out of that stuff and keep it under the purview of people trained and qualified to do said maintenance and upkeep.
Kind of like people who have the certificates to use explosives.
Yep.
And that's something, I don't mind people actually having those kinds of certificates. I don't mind people who are actually, well, trained and can exercise this stuff to be allowed to have these kinds of things. But at the same time, I find it hypocritical when you have something like, oh yeah, but we need to restrict firearms. We need 10 bullet magazines at most, because otherwise we're going to have more mass shootings. And the same fucking people saying that are having a wine a night and just having some fun, and then they go driving. And either plow into another car, or go out in the fucking ditch because they're driving drunk. Or driving high. Or doing shit that actually harms other people, while at the same time saying, oh yeah, but we don't want firearms. Just the people protecting us are supposed to have firearms.
Yeah, response times are less than desirable.
Bringing this back, though, to Star Trek, what do we know about the kinds of rights and privileges that they have in regards to that in that kind of setting?
It's never explicitly addressed on any of the shows or in the movies, but because of the perspective we're given is essentially that of Starfleet, which is a combination military, police force, and scientific exploration conglomerate. So it's expected that they would have relatively easy access to the appropriate weaponry of the time for when the situation arises. However, we don't really get any notice or mention of private citizens in the Federation having their own weaponry other than the occasional reused prop that is either the most deadly and outlawed weapon ever designed because it's a disruptor that slowly disintegrates you, or it's just a standard phaser disruptor, whatever they need it for, on someone who's more on the fringes. Actually, no, we do get close to it in one instance. Well, one subplot. The Maquis. The Federation had no problem with the Maquis having ships, having warp-capable ships. The issue that the Federation had with the Maquis is that they had armed themselves, which was against the treaty with Cardassia, and they were attacking Cardassians with that weaponry. So it does seem like the Federation is actually very strict and limited on who does and does not have access to the weaponry.
Yeah, which I can understand it to a point. At the same time, you do have a lot of frontier in the Federation. You do have a lot of planets where they could potentially actually use the self-defense.
Yeah, and I think that with the Maquis, the issue wasn't so much that they had the weapons to begin with, other than the fact that it was in the treaty that that area was to remain unarmed and demilitarized. And they saw those people arming themselves as really pushing the verbiage and legality of the treaty. If it wasn't for that treaty, I don't see the Federation actually having a problem with them, other than when it's shown that they're being the aggressor instead of just defending themselves.
That kind of makes it really hard to see, though, considering that, as far as we've seen, when it comes to weapons, weapons are a bit of a diffused term, I guess you could say. When you have shit like phasers around, I guess a phaser can be, well, a really deadly weapon, or it can be used to just remove a landslide, or it can be used to heat your tea, or it can be used to...
And that's part of the issue with the Federation, because they intentionally designed the Type 2 handheld phaser, and even the Type 1, to be a tool instead of just an outright weapon.
Yeah, so in that case, is it a weapon or is it a tool? Is it something that can be used for all these things here, or is it essentially a rocket-launched shovel?
No, the Klingons would have that.
But that's something I could see the Federation, or at least some people in the Federation, especially some admirals, try to get away with, though. In that, oh yeah, but we only gave them some tools for, getting rid of natural hazards, etc. It's a fucking phaser rifle.
Well, the phaser rifle is easier to aim and control than the handheld Type 2.
Yeah. And it's something, it could go under the purview of, okay, yes, this is a tool. This is meant for wildlife. This is meant for, I don't know, getting rid of rock slides, whatever the shit. Because there's just something there which, with the Federation, it doesn't really make any fucking sense.
They're just going off the duplicity of American politics. There's the explanation. What the time period that we're looking at is the time period when Gene Roddenberry was in control, and shortly after his passing, when others who were essentially his pupils took over.
His proteges.
Yeah. And so you have a lot of that duality where it depends on the situation. And I think that really goes for a lot of what the Federation is, how they're seen and how they actually handle situations. They really do take a lot of things on a case-by-case basis instead of having, no. It doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter the circumstances. This is what our restriction is. But they do that on a few things. There is one, oh god, what was the name of the chemical? There is a gel that, because it can be used and is often used as a key component in biological weapons,
The mimetic gel.
the mimetic gel, yes. That stuff is so controlled because of that potential ill use. But a phaser's really not. It really makes you wonder with them, where does the line actually start or stop?
And in a place where you have so much, well, advanced technology in general, how do you stop people from using that? You have pretty much all the pieces to make all these things. What is there from keeping people from putting it together?
Yeah. And there is quite the black market that we end up learning about through DS9 simply because of Quark.
Well, it's Quark. Quark is special.
That he is.
The black market and Quark are synonymous, just like the black market in the mafia or the triads in China. It's just, you don't have to say anything else.
Odo was not wrong to always have suspicion of Quark whenever something came up. So, what are your guys' final thoughts on Beyond before we go into the interlude period?
If I never have to see it again, it'll be too soon.
But was it as bad as you remembered? Or expected it to be?
I would have to say no. But it didn't make it good.
Well, let me give it to you this way, Leon. I'm gonna give you a choice, and you have to pick one or the other. Okay? There's no middle ground. There's no third option. Nothing. You have to watch Beyond again next week on the server, or you have to watch JM Truth's DIY video, How to Make Homemade Grout, where the thumbnail has a "Sorry for the buzz. I set my phone against the heater. My bad" declaration on it.
That's actually kind of a tough choice. I haven't seen the Grout video, but I have seen Beyond. How long is the Grout video?
6 minutes 57 seconds too long.
I'll go with that in that case.
It's made with Adobe Rush, so entirely filmed on phone and everything.
I'm fine with that. I'll watch that. And then I can sleep away the rest of the time.
I would have to concur with that. But other than your
on his website, but no. Other than that, no. Seriously, it's not as bad as I thought it was or remembered it being, but it's still bad. I think if they like I said, if they had changed the story to something that wasn't quite the JJ verse, but not TOS or Discovery, or had it somewhere in between Enterprise and TOS, and just kind of cleaned up the timing of it, it would have worked better as a standalone, entry, much like a Solo or Rogue One, that type of thing.
Story had potential, poor execution, basically.
Yep.
They could have trimmed it down by 20 minutes, though, easily.
Mm-hmm.
But then we wouldn't get that awesome sequence of Kirk on a bike, jumping around a complex, setting up some sort of mystery material wall.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, so would I. With that, we are going to do our interlude. We are going to do a review of the that JM Truth. This is not money advice, but it is money advice video. But it's going to be off air, so if you want a chance to watch what our reaction to it is, click that join button. And we will be waiting to get more of the normal panel and cast of characters available chime in and watch it themselves.
And just to prejudice you all to it, it has one upvote and one downvote already.
Wait, hey, how long ago did he post it?
78 minutes ago it premiered even.
Oh, and it was a premiere. Oh,
I'll even share the chat. We'll share the chat while we watch it.
Oh joy. But we will see you all soon.